Hi all. Hi, do you all start at 7? I had it for 7:30. My apologies.
Hi, Kelly.
Hey,
Yeah, I figured that was the issue.
yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, let everyone just assemble, then we'll get started. I know Marie was getting on.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Okay, let's get started since we're getting on late. Hi, everybody. All right, so we have Kelly Wenstrup with us tonight as our liaison. Thank you for joining us. And motion to begin our meeting.
I'll second it. I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Up to count.
Second. Okay, so we have a guest speaker tonight. So David Freeman, thank you so much for arranging this, and I'll let you make the introduction.
Okay, I'm still waiting to join.
You're on.
I have a thing that says waiting.
No, we see you and we hear you. You're on.
Video preview. What happens if I hit this? Okay, well, I'll pretend that I'm on even though I can't see anybody. And I'm told that I'm waiting.
Turn on your computer audio, your computer video.
I don't know what's going on here.
Oh.
Join with video. I can't.
We see you, so you have video.
Okay, well, I'm being told I'm waiting, but without further ado,
Okay.
I am going to introduce Lisa DeRigo, who is I'm not sure exactly what her title is, but she is a program director at the New York's League of Conservation Voters Education Fund. And she's been looking very closely at the CLCPA. As she will tell you, the League has done a bunch of seminars on the Act and how various constituencies can get themselves aligned with the policies and requirements of the Act, including municipalities. So I invited her to give us a presentation tonight, and she graciously agreed to do that. So without further ado, let me turn the floor over to her. And Lisa, take it away.
Thank you, David. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know whether you can see it. I hope so. Okay, great. Okay, so I have to go at 7:30, so I'm going to jump through this. Hi everyone, my name is Lisa DeRigo. I'm not quite the program director. I'm the program coordinator at the League. And as David mentioned, I have been getting familiar with the CLCPA and Climate Smart Communities program. And I'll just dive in. So we have our fantastic Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. That was signed into law, I believe, about 2 years ago now. So I just kind of bulleted a few mandates and goals of the Act. What you don't see on the screen is some goals regarding offshore wind, energy storage, and solar power. So the Act mandates 9,000 megawatts of offshore wind by 2030, 3,000 megawatts of energy storage by 2030, and 6,000 megawatts of solar by 2025. So let's see, I'm using two screens here. I'm not the most technologically inclined. Oops, okay, all right. So as David was saying, the League has been putting on our CLCPA policy forum series on implementing the CLCPA, which is, I think, what everyone is wondering, and that's kind of why I'm here. The way we've structured the policy forum series is in categories of sectors. So I've bulleted the plan. We have done 5 out of the 6 so far. I'm in the very early stages of doing the one on waste. This is a screenshot from the last forum we held on manufacturing in May, and I've linked our landing page for the policy forum series, which I encourage everyone to check out. We have our written recaps and webinar recordings on there. And this policy forum series has been more focused on just high level, how the different sectors can start thinking about implementing the law. And after the series is over, we hope to kind of switch gears and help municipalities. So before I jump in, I have outlined a few resources for municipalities. The first 2 bullets are great programs, which I know everyone here is knowledgeable about to a certain extent. So there's the Climate Smart Communities program run by the DEC, and then the NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program, which I know that the village of Mamaroneck has about 1,200 points, I think, in the program the last time I checked. And I am aware that y'all are registered as a CSC, but not quite certified. And on the screen, there's a screenshot of the cover of Sierra Club's Municipal Toolkit. There are some great resources in this toolkit. And what's really cool about it is there are some case studies and stories from municipalities that are working towards clean energy future. For example, Ossining was highlighted because they have a community choice aggregation program. The town of East Hampton has pledged to achieve 100% renewable electricity, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a great toolkit for municipalities looking for inspiration from other municipalities trying to figure it out, right? The last 2 bullets cover funding opportunities and grant programs. So the 2021 Municipal Zero Emission Infrastructure Grant Program provides grants to municipalities to install level 2 and DC fast charging stations for public use. They're now accepting applications until October 29th. Or until funding is exhausted or DEC withdraws the request for applications. And this program covers at least 80% of eligible installation costs. The money is provided through the EPF, and you can get up to $250,000 per location. So I just wanted to highlight that since they're actively taking applications now. Sorry for any background noise. The last bullet covers the Charge Ready New York program. It's a NYSERDA program that offers municipalities rebates of $4,000 per charging port installed at public parking facilities, workplaces, and apartment buildings. The reason I'm aware of this is because the League is currently running an EV campaign called Plug It in New York, where we are encouraging individuals to adopt electric vehicles, but we're also doing outreach to registered climate smart communities that are not yet certified. We're looking to see if these registered CSC communities are planning on taking some actions related to EV infrastructure or fleet inventory, that sort of thing. I was going to highlight some of those results today, but I know I don't have too much time. So I'm happy to share more information on that. Okay, so the League is more knowledgeable about climate smart communities because of our EV campaign. We're kind of, I guess you could say, a little biased because we feel it is pretty comprehensive and applicable to most, if not all, municipalities around the state. So there are about more than 100 different actions leading to certification. They're kind of within 10 buckets of PE actions or pledge elements, all related to climate change. Some of them are in regards to forming teams and setting goals, which is really important. Energy use, solid waste management, land use policies, enhancing community resilience, supporting a green economy, and public engagement. So in order to get certified, there are different levels. So you have bronze, silver, and gold. They're still working out the gold level right now, but bronze and silver are clearly outlined on their websites, which I can follow up with a whole slew of resources and links for all of you. So in order to become certified, the applicant must earn at least 120 points, complete at least one action under these 4 different pledge elements that I was mentioning, complete 2 mandatory actions, which I think would be really easy for you guys. I'll touch on that in a second, and then complete 3 priority actions. Like the CEC program, CSC program has technical assistance and grants available. So other than those 2 grants I was talking about on the former slide, the CSC grant program is also now accepting applications until July 30th. You don't need to be certified yet. The only caveat is that it's a 50-50 matching grant program. So there is a local match equal to 50% of the total eligible project costs required, but they are now accepting applications. So I just wanted to put that out. There is also overlap with the CEC program, which I will make sure to touch on. So the way I've organized some of the recommendations for y'all is regarding emissions reductions, clean energy, and with buildings. So the ones I have on this slide are PE2 actions that are focused on inventory, setting goals, and planning for climate action. The 2 PE1 actions are mandatory, and like I was saying, I think it would be really easy for you guys because it involves creating a CSC task force and appointing a CSC coordinator. And I mean, all of you are on the call right now, and it shows that you care, and it's very heartwarming. I think it's, you know, I come from New York City, so I'm not used to the whole small town thing. I think I drove through Mamaroneck once, and it was so quaint, and it's just I really want to shout you guys out for caring and wanting to start this process. So anyway, there are 4 PE2 actions. By the way, if you do start a task force and appoint a coordinator, you will earn 30 points, and then you're a quarter of the way there to certification. So the government operations, greenhouse gas inventory will earn you 16 points. It is a priority action. And this is important to you know, understand what are the emissions resulting from the day-to-day operations of your village. I think it's important to start off there. And then the community greenhouse gas inventory is similar to the prior, but now you're looking at the community, and this is also will earn you 16 points. It is a priority action. So you're looking at emissions resulting from transportation fuels, waste, energy usage in buildings, and other sources within your village that will help establish a baseline so that you know how you are improving. Government operations typically account for less than 3% of a community's total emissions. So it is important to understand how industries, businesses, schools, homes, and vehicles in the entire community contribute to climate change. And then creating a community climate action plan is obviously super important because you want to know where you're going, what the plan is. This will earn you 16 points. It's a priority action. And then, so it's requiring a climate action plan for the community and as well for government operations. The next area is action for buildings. And I think this really falls in line with CLCPA goals. So the CLCPA calls for measures to achieve reductions in energy use in existing residential or commercial buildings, including the electrification of water and space heating in buildings, strengthening building energy codes, and requiring annual building energy benchmarking. And about 3 years ago, NYSERDA declared that energy efficiency can deliver nearly 1/3 of the greenhouse gas reductions needed to meet New York's goal of a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And NYSERDA has also found that there is tremendous opportunity to reduce energy use in buildings through improvements in this order: cooling, lighting, water heating, space heating, refrigeration, appliances, and ventilation. So there are a ton of actions in the CSC program you can take as it pertains to buildings. The first three, there is crossover with the CEC program. So I looked into it. The clean energy upgrades really is integrating energy efficiency and renewable energy into government facilities that can reduce emissions and save taxpayer money. There are also state programs that can help to get these projects accomplished with no or low upfront cost, and that's according to DEC. In the CSC program, it'll earn you 10 points, and then in the CEC program, you can earn 500 points, which is pretty substantial. In regards to heat pumps, you'll earn 9 points in the CSC program and up to 500 points in the CEC program. The crossover there is the clean heating and cooling demo, that's what they're calling it. And currently fossil fuel-based thermal energy is the main energy source for space and water heating in residential and commercial sectors. And conventional heating and cooling systems are responsible for about 30% of New York State's greenhouse gas emissions, according to NYSERDA. So definitely a priority for municipalities, I'd say. The third one, benchmarking municipal buildings. It'll only earn you 2 points in the CSC program, but you can earn up to 1,000 points in the CEC program. It involves tracking energy use, measuring performance over time, and comparing building performance against similar buildings in your community. It's important because it helps building owners and managers identify the opportunities to reduce emissions, cut energy waste, and quantify energy savings. Because I'm short on time, I'm not going to go into detail on the other bullets, but I can absolutely follow up with more detail. I'm going to go to the next slide, which covers clean energy. I did bold the LED street lights because there's crossover for the CEC program, and I saw that Mamaroneck actually did accomplish that, that in the CEC program. So kudos to you guys. The next bullet covers renewable energy certificates, and that also has crossover in the CEC program. So not too many points are allotted in the CSC program, only 2. But the CEC, how they're labeling it is 100% renewable electricity, and you can earn 500 points in the CEC program. And what this is purchasing. So purchasing these certificates is the widely accepted way to reduce the environmental footprint of electricity consumption and help to fund renewable energy development. Purchasing RECs allows local governments to offset the environmental impacts of their energy consumption by supporting the production of more renewable energy in the state. Again, I'm short on time, so I'm not going to go into detail on the rest. I know that was just like a slew of information in a really short amount of time. I'm sorry for just rattling off. Here's my email if you have any questions. I'm happy to put together resources like I said, but for now I'm just going to stop talking and let me know if anyone has any questions. I'll also stop sharing my screen.
Lisa, thank you. That was so helpful. We are actually, you may or may not know this from David, but we're in the thick of all of this right now. Still trying to figure out CEC versus CSC.
Yeah, and they just updated that crossover in April. So
yeah, it's interesting that there's crossover and it's motivating. We just actually, we finished 2 campaigns. We did a community solar campaign and grid rewards. And I was actually doing the application to get the grant today. And I didn't know that we actually had to commit to an action. So I'd love to talk to you about what you think we should take on.
Yeah, I have time tomorrow because I know, you know, if you're trying to work on this now, we can chat.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
So Lisa, thank you. I take responsibility for Lisa's having to skip over a lot of her background information because I told her she had 10 minutes. It's impossible to go through all this in 10 minutes, but I figured we had a crowded agenda. But hopefully, Lisa, and maybe in the future, once we know a little bit more about this and are further along, you can come back, and certainly we'll be in touch with you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can use all the help. We can use all the help we can get.
Happy to help such a willing group, you know. So the league is looking to put together some sort of toolkit ourselves not quite, reinventing the wheel like Sierra Club already has their toolkit, but we certainly want to help municipalities that are thinking the way you guys are on how they can align with the CLCPA. So I'm going to finish off my policy forum series and switch my attention to supporting municipalities. So definitely more to come from me. And Ellen, I think you have my email. Let me drop it in the chat again.
I have it.
Oh, you have it. Okay.
Yeah.
I also don't see a chat feature, so.
That's fine. I have it. So I'll reach out to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and sorry about getting started late.
No, that's on me. That's on, not on Ellen.
That's
it's
just
on-
the world of
sorry.
Zoom.
No worries. I'm sorry. I was just like rattling off. There's just so much. I know you guys are in the thick of it. So kudos to you. Thank you, David, for the opportunity to meet everyone and share what I know, which is I'm not such an expert, but I'm getting there.
You're way ahead of us.
Yeah, very much.
I try.
Okay.
All right, happy to be supportive in the weeks to come, the months to come, and have a great night. Have a great meeting.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, guys, I'm just gonna sort of speed through some of the next couple of things. A lot of them are just administrative, and Mandy will be joining us late tonight, so she may just pop in at any moment. By the way, hi, June, welcome to our meeting. Okay, Jude Ottinger is joining us tonight. All right, so first up, why don't we, hopefully everybody had a chance to read the minutes from our May meeting, and we'd like to vote on them now. So if there are no comments, motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Second, perfect. All right, Renee, you know the drill.
You have to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for keeping me in line. Okay. So I think that just moving right along, you all know we've been having this logo contest, and I'll let Debbie talk about it in a second, but really what we're going to do at the end of our meeting tonight, hopefully everyone isn't totally fatigued after this, we just want to take a few minutes in an executive session, which is off camera, and show everybody the 4 finalists, chat a little bit. Oh, hey, Mandy. And Debbie, I don't know if you want to explain everything now, or should we just wait to the executive session?
I don't know, that's up to you. I could just explain everything now, and then we could actually skip the executive session, I think, if you'd rather do that way.
No, I don't want to skip the executive session.
Okay, so then let's just save it for them, because we have a lot on the agenda.
All right, great. So I just wanted to give a sort of a post-mortem update, everyone. I participated in a composting webinar sponsored by the Mamaroneck Library on June 2nd. And I did this with 2 women from the Sustainability Collaborative with the town of Mamaroneck, and they'd already done it with the Larchmont Library. And so the Mamaroneck Library reached out for us to do it. And I would say it went really well. Turnout was so-so. We had 29 signups. In the end, there were only 14 attendees. There is a replay. People could watch it after if they so choose. But these are the kind of things that I just want our committee to be doing more of. I think it's just great outreach, and whoever was on the call was really appreciative and really engaged. So it was, and it's fun to do. It's not, in this day of Zoom, it's just, you don't have to leave your house. It's just pretty easy to do that. And now that we have the presentations, we could just sort of pull it off the shelf and just do it ever so often.
Yeah, and we do have a good connection with the library, and they're very interested. They have a new director there. They're very interested in community outreach, and anything we want to do with the library, we can make happen.
David, I know that your wife is very involved. I have to say, Trish was amazing. And to your point, they were so supportive and enthusiastic for our presentation. It was really nice. Renee, do you just want to give a little recap? I went to 3 houses in the garden tour, and I wish I had more time because it was amazing. Wait, you're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you. I think
Now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else had a chance to go to any of the gardens, but I think it was pretty successful. I think it's kind of hard to count because we took a a tally at each of the sites, but of course that's going to double count lots of people. But we think there was probably around anywhere from 250 to 300 people that participated, which is great. And certainly all of the homeowners were super enthusiastic with the conversations that they were having with people that showed up. So I think it was a great event to get the word out and spread that message about the pollinator pathways and healthy yards. So, which was obviously the prime purpose of the event. So I think all around it was really, really successful and a great outreach for those programs. And yeah, Mother Nature also was wonderful to us that day. So we had a great weather for it. So I think that helped with the turnout. It was a really good event. So we're thinking we'll do that definitely again. That was the first annual for Larchmont and Mamaroneck to participate in. That that particular tour was organized by the Bedford Healthy Yards group, and so we'll definitely be participating in that again next year, and we may do like a little sort of mini one on our own in the fall, so we'll see.
That'd be great. Anyone have anything to add? But
I took pictures. If anyone wants to see them, let me know. I have 4 gardens.
okay, I saw you at one. Okay, so I'm gonna just keep moving along.
Just
June, did you want to say something?
okay, sorry, go ahead. I'll ask Mandy.
If you do have the picture.
I was just gonna ask Mandy something, but
Sorry.
go ahead, June.
Go ahead, June, and then we'll chat with Renee.
Okay, Mandy, Elizabeth Poirier.
Yeah.
I think I slaughtered her last name. She had said that anyone that took pictures, if you can get them to her, she'd appreciate it.
No, it's okay. I already sent them to her. She has them, but she's decompressing, so I'm sure she'll ask me some questions when she's ready. What were you thinking, Renee?
Yeah, it was just on that topic.
Oh.
So I can follow up with you later. Okay.
Okay, great. So moving along to the next agenda item, the Repair Cafe. So this was an initiative that was supposed to happen. It was really far along in the planning, and then COVID hit and it got canceled. So George Roninger with the Sustainability Collab is leading the effort on this, and he's just sort of trying to resurrect what was already there mostly. And he wants to have it sometime in October. I don't know that they have a venue yet. I know last time they were going to do it at the senior center. I don't know if that's still the choice. But I did. I guess a few of you reached out to me saying you were interested. So I did give him your name, and he's suggesting that everybody join the Facebook group, which is Town of Mamaroneck Repair Cafe. So you should do that. But he does have Debbie, Tim, Liam, and Mandy is who said that they were interested either for promotion or repair or something. But the 4 things they focus on right now, the jobs that need to be done, are to find a place and confirm the date, develop a list of types of repairs and find repairers, fixers. That's actually the most important. And then promotion. And they're trying to have it, with both the Village of Mamaroneck, the town, and the Village of Larchmont, a tri-municipal event. And actually, I think that this may be a CSC action. So that would be sort of cool if we could check a box for that as well when we do that. Debbie, are you checking right now?
No, I'm just writing it down. So
Look like you were checking your guidebook.
No, I'm just writing it down.
Okay. So I think that should be a cool event. And it's always nice to have a collaboration.
The senior center looks good, by the way. They just revamped their big main room. So they painted it. Yeah, I dropped off pots there. I know the women in the senior center.
Those pots are going far and wide.
Oh, they're everywhere. But they are gone. I have enough for the contest, and that's
it. Okay, good.
But it's nice there. They have a big like gymnasium type room. That would be good with tables. They have all the tables and chairs there already. It would be good to have it there if
Yeah, it seems like a perfect spot. I don't know why they're not just doing it there. I don't know if there's availability issues or I don't know. If there's rent. I'm not really sure. They're trying to make it into more of a community event, not just a place you go to get something fixed, but have kids activities and maybe food and beverages and things like that. I think they want to be like really a community event. So I don't think they need a larger place, but anyway, more to come on that. That's in the fall. I just wanted to put that out there. Also in the fall, so the Center for Continuing Education approached the CoLab asking if they wanted to have classes at Continuing Ed. I guess they're looking for content. And so I don't know if anyone knows June Wallach, but she's now heading this effort. And they've already scheduled one class, which is October 4th, on the subject of energy, which is going to, I guess, I don't think they finalized the curriculum, but I think it's going to include community solar, EV chargers. And Dan, I was thinking if you want to, I could help you plug into that if you have any interest. But I think other topics that are being sort of tossed around are the Love Your Food campaign and Healthy Yards. But these classes are going to be free to the public, and they are looking for speakers. So I think that if anybody wants to step in, help out, or do something, or amongst ourselves, if we want to do something, just putting that out there.
I don't necessarily want to be a speaker, but I know someone who might be a good speaker in the subject of healthy yards world.
Is that somebody outside of our community?
Yes, she lives in Harrison.
Okay.
She's clearing a park in Harrison and making like a native meadow. It's like her passion project. She's a chemistry teacher and full-time. She knows a lot of stuff. She had permission from the mayor to do it, and she's been doing it for like 2-3 years. I could always ask her. She's very sweet.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, let's talk about that offline. Yeah, I think that'd be amazing. And then I know, Mandy, you wanted to talk about a fall cleanup, which I think would be great. And I'll just mention this. Last night, I was at the high school. They were having their National Honor Society induction. And, they actually were mentioning this year that it was a little challenging for the kids to get their service hours. And they mentioned, 2 things that they did with our committee, which was really nice. They talked about the harbor cleanup and the composting at the farmers market. So it was just nice to know that we're providing them with volunteer opportunities, and they're such a tremendous help to us. So since my daughter will be in the National Honor Society next year, I want to keep them busy. But I think that in the fall we could definitely utilize the students and put something out to the community, not for a big clean and green. I think that's not what we're looking to do, but something more manageable, more informal, less pots.
No pots, no giveaways, just.
Yeah. But Mandy, not to put you on the spot, would you want to sort of lead a subcommittee on that, or just an organizing group?
Sure. I would love to help with, I think, the logistics of it. That
Okay.
would, just get some good registration going and maybe just organize when people get there a little bit better. Just
Okay.
some of the stuff that we learned. But yeah, I'd be happy if anyone wants to help.
You got Christy.
Okay.
I'm happy to help too.
Yeah, I'd like to. Are we thinking what month? Just simply because September is a really tricky month, but
Yeah, I was thinking more like October when the kids are fully back at school, and before it gets too cold.
Yes. Okay, great.
So maybe October.
Okay.
Just not October 3rd or 4th.
We'll have to look at the school calendar maybe, just in case. I don't know.
Yeah. So June, I know that you're attending our meeting tonight, and we're happy to have you. And my suspicion is it's because of our next agenda item. So does everybody know where the West Basin is? Yeah. So the West Basin is on the corner of Boston Post Road and Orienta Avenue. And there's this little house that I think is a sewer station, right? And it's county land. And I guess the village required the county, when they were making that sewer station, to make that house, you know, of a style that would fit with the other sort of architecture in the harbor. So it was probably more than the county would have liked to do. But now with that, there's the land around it that has gotten a little overgrown, and now there's weeds and it needs to be planted. And so basically, I think that Jerry was trying to fight against this, but somehow the county got this permit allowing them to do a round of treatment. And I've had a lot of emails back and forth on this topic, and I think there's not really much we could do about that at this point. The other thing was, when we saw the list of plantings, we were a little taken aback because there was really, I don't know if there were any natives. And, you know, I knew that that Latimer had passed an executive order, I think in 2018, saying that any plantings on county land, which is what this is, had to be native. And so although, you know, it's county land, I was trying to just, you know, emphasize, yeah, it's county land, but this is a really visible spot in our own community that we need to sort of fight for. And we shouldn't really be spraying Roundup, and we shouldn't really be planting anything other than, for the most part, natives, because this is a special spot and it could be a showcase for our village. So anyway, I had the opportunity to meet June at one of the houses at the garden tour, and we were talking, and it was, I'm glad we met, and I would love for you to just talk about, because June leads the Harbor Island Conservancy, and they are very involved in the planting with the county at that location. So I will turn it over to you, June.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
We started working, Christy, did you want to speak first?
Just a quick moment. I'm sorry. I'll take my hand on. Could you repeat the location of this house in question? Because it sounds, I didn't pick it up exactly.
Oh, it's on the corner of Boston Post Road and Orient Avenue.
It's across from the Montessori school.
Yeah, it's across the
Across from the story. So basically, parallel to Orienta, like, because there's that.
It's a very small house, is a very generous. word.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a tiny little brick
It's a
house. It's across
stone
from the
building.
It's a pump house for the sewer flow, and I think they just completed it about 4 months ago.
Okay.
But they've been working on it for a good 2 years.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Now I know what you're talking about.
I represent Harbor Island Conservancy, and how we got involved was when Richard Slingerland was the village manager and was working with the county when this was first proposed by the by Westchester County Sewer District. He asked Harbor Island Conservancy to help to make that house something that would blend in with the surrounding Montessori school, so that it wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb, because it is so visible. And also, Harbor Island Conservancy is the organization that paid for all of those gardens there at the entrance to Harbor Island Conservancy. We also had, designed the signs that say Harbor Island Park that's on that rock wall. And we had done all of the plantings, believe it or not, it was almost 15 years ago. So the county steps in and they have 2 years of work to get the work done. Ellen, I just want to clarify a point. The county only owns the land that you see kind of on the nearest to the building. Everything on the other side where our gardens are, where the Harbor Island Conservancy landscaping was done 15 years ago, that is all village property. The county only owns the property surrounding that building. And one of the things that the county had allowed Harbor Island Conservancy to do 15 years ago, we planted a couple of crepe myrtles, and there was a few plants on that side of the wall. And when the county turned over their contracts to put back the landscaping that had been torn apart during their building. They allowed us to submit a landscaping design, and the plants that you see that have to do with that landscaping on that plan are just the drift roses, the geranium, the catmint, and there's a cypress. And that's all that has to do with what's going to be planted in that area where the beds originally were. The other things that are on that landscaping plan were negotiated with the tree committee in the village, Beverly, Sherrod, and the county. And so about 8, about 8 trees that the tree committee had asked to be planted to fill in some areas and such around that building are part of this landscaping, but that's kind of a negotiation with the tree committee and the county. The rest of the plan, there's a few taxes that will be planted at the very back of that building so that people can't just walk through there, because the county doesn't want pedestrians to enter the park that way. So we said we'd be happy to do that for the county. But the good news, and this is why you saw me at the pollinating gardens on Sunday, is because anything new that we wanted to plant, not just to redo the landscaping beds. We have 2 beds that were never bothered. And all we doing with these drift roses, geraniums, catmint, is to just put back what was there, and it'll blend with the other 2 gardens in that area. But here's the idea, and this is why I wanted to work with your committee, because we do want to take a strip of that land that the county owns that's nearest to that building. It's about 30 feet by about, on average, 12 to 15 feet. That would be the perfect place for a pollinator garden. And since the county has said they don't really care, as a matter of fact, they had said, just, clean it up and sow grass seed, that's fine with us. But if we wanted to do a pollinator garden, they would have no problem. I've been working with Gerald Pettit, who was the Westchester County manager for that project for the last, oh God, it seems like an eternity. I think it's been 2.5 years. And he and I are on the same page. He just wants it to look nice, and he trusts us to do it. Thank God. And so he gave us some money, and he would be happy if we put a pollinator garden there, which I think would be perfect. And there's one other small new garden that we can do that is on the other side of that big round wall that has the Harbor Island Park sign. The county took away a lot of equipment, metal fencing and such that was behind that wall. So we have the opportunity, I call it a serenity garden, but it's going to be more of a seating area. The walkways that enter the park and come around and encase that area, make it very accessible to anyone who has special needs. And it would be as a matter of fact, the views from that area looking straight out to the sound are probably the best in the park. So what we call a serenity garden would just be seating, some small areas with plantings. And that's why I would like your committee to give us an idea of what would be good plantings. It wouldn't be like a pollinator garden, but it should certainly have native species, and it would be more of an educational place that we could use. So those are 2 new gardens that I think would go along very well with what the village is trying to do, is that, native plants only be used. So that's our plan. And I'd very much like to work with your committee. As the Harbor Island Conservancy usually is the lead organization if we're like doing things, but I would never do anything without like the tree committee if we're doing trees, or with you guys if we were going to be doing new plants.
Well, I mean, that all sounds wonderful, June. Thank you. And we'd be honored to work with you.
Thank
that
you.
I
We will
mean, I'm
probably-
not the expert. I would have to defer certainly to Mandy,
Oh, no.
by
no.
Renee.
Oh, but
Or maybe we get Dina involved, but that could be a really fun project.
I did want to add one other thing. The Grass Genie was a contract that was negotiated between the village and the county in getting rid of the weeds and things so that we could put our gardens back. However, because Harbor Island Conservancy is involved, we've had our landscaper talking to Cornell Extension Center to determine what really should be used to get rid of those weeds. And what Dave Graff is the landscaper that had done all of the gardens for Harbor Island Conservancy over the years. And so what he has negotiated with Grass Genie is to use, it's not Roundup. He's going to be using something that doesn't kill Roundup kills all the grass. It kills anything it touches. But you'll notice that a lot of that area on the other side of the wall, that's all the village, most of that is a huge grass area. Only about 8 feet along that wall is where our bed would be. And so Dave is only going to be using some kind of fungicide that was recommended by Cornell to get rid of the weeds in that area. Also, Dave told me to tell you that you had mentioned to me that there were barberry bushes that was disturbing, but he said that these are the ones, the New York State approved these in 2020. They don't have two of the things, they're non-invasive and they don't reseed or something. So these are the ones that he said that we would use, because in the other beds that were done 15 years ago, we're just trying to match that, you know, to make it look the same so that it all blends there. All 3 beds would be the same. And since the others had the barberry in them, and they weren't even selling this stuff until last year, but they came up with this particular species that is allowed and does not reseed, I think is the term he used.
I think the
And that's
issue
why
is,
you saw them on this plan.
I think the issue with the barberry, Mandy, you could chime in here.
Yeah, the only thing I know about barberry is it attracts ticks.
That's what I was going to say, that
Yeah,
you had said that it
harbors
attracts
them, they
ticks.
like it. They like it.
That
a
was
lot.
the concern.
So we need to get a possum, huh?
Yes, that would be good. They're good.
And I didn't realize there are already a couple of barberry bushes in that area already. They're kind of tacked in on the ends, and so he was going to tack these in, but we can certainly minimize it if that would help. But I'd have to talk to Dave to see how he'd want to do that. But he made sure that these, as a matter of fact, you could not buy, or no landscape company was allowed to sell barberry up until last year, and only this species, or whatever it's called, of barberry can be used. And that's why it's on this plan, because we're just trying to match this garden with the other 2.
Okay.
So June, a practical question. You had said something about the county had given you money or had money, and I guess they're giving it to the Conservancy. Is the money that they're giving you enough to cover what you're planning to do? And is there another budget that needs to be considered, or are you covered financially?
Covered. We were so adamant that when the county restored the gardens that they tore apart back to its original state, and we were very insistent that they use the right type of plant, the plant that like you say, the non-invasive barberry stuff. And they were, and like I say, Gerald Pettit was so kind that he said, look, we can contract this out, but if it's not done right, I said, we're going to make you do it correctly, so you're going to get to do it twice. He went, you know what, I think I'm going to negotiate with whoever he needed to in the county, and he said, we can use Harbor Island Conservancy as the subcontractor to oversee, to make sure that everything is done properly the first time, and we'll give you the money to pay for it. And they were very generous. They met our budget, and they actually threw in about another 1,000 plus. But again, we're doing a few plantings for them, and I think that's what it's supposed to cover. So and as a matter of fact, he said, I never want to deal with this again. It's in your hands now. But we do have their contracts that we have to use.
So June, can I just ask what your timeline is on this project?
Sure. Because of the lateness and the area has to be prepared properly. And so we have a feeling some of the trees that the tree committee had picked out, Graph Landscaping said they might be able to get some of them in this fall. Otherwise, most of these plants will be in the spring. And certainly the pollinating gardens would be, for sure. The restoring the beds, that one bed on the other side of the wall, the side closest to the street, that some of that could be planted this fall, but it will be probably late August, but we have irrigation. So we're not worried about water on both sides. So the pollinating garden will be done perfectly because we do have it irrigated, the drip faucet type of irrigation.
I mean, I'd be happy to work with you on this and you know, meet with you and see kind of what kind of information you need from us going forward, and you know, how we can help.
Mandy, do you know her last name? Dina
Cola.
I'll get that right one day. She also was very
Yeah.
interested because she has a lot of plants that she thought would be
yeah.
perfect. Of course, those plants would not be planted until spring because that would be when you'd want to do them, according to Dina. So that makes sense. But we would certainly have that area ready to plant and irrigated by next spring easily. But
Great.
thank you, Renee. I will definitely be on your doorstep.
I'm happy to help too, whatever I can do.
Oh, good. I'll get your emails somehow.
I'll connect everybody through email, June.
Okay,
Maybe we could actually plan
Thanks,
a
Laura.
field trip out there, just so we could all visualize exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I wanted to get Elizabeth Poirier to also join us.
Okay,
And so when we do get that set up, I'll let you guys know, okay?
sure.
Yeah.
Liam, did you want to say something?
Sort of two questions. First of all, with regarding getting rid of the weeds and not using the Roundup, which is good. If we had some volunteers to manually do that, would that also be helpful?
I wish we could do it manually. When we went out there to see, because the county took 2 years because there was a problem with the amount of land they needed to use. The weeds were so bad that when we actually had the landscaper dig down, it was over 12 inches of those heavy roots. And at first we had assumed that we would just dig up and put down, but when we saw the extent, it didn't seem possible. But later on, when we need weeding, I'll be knocking on your door.
Okay. And then the other thing was, because we discussed pollinator pathways a while back. I actually thought of that site on Harbour Island. But as I understand it, someone I think said every sort of 750 feet, you need a connecting pollinator pathway. So I was just wondering if there's any plan within the Conservancy to sort of expand around the harbour.
Mandy and I were just talking about that. You know, the county pier is being redone. Now, I don't know if that's 750 feet, but I think that would be another excellent place for a pollinating garden, because it is, we've even, Mandy, that's where your milkweed is already. But I do think that that we might be able to do that, but it'll take a little bit of time because the county pier, knowing the county, it's going to take longer than they ever say it will.
Yeah, when I bumped into June at one of the, we've never met until one of the garden tours, but she let me know, we just got to talking about that area in Harbour Island, but she let me know that the county, I guess, I don't know, the Parks Department, I don't know if they knew or what, the county's gonna have equipment there. and they're far from done. And the area where our silly little milkweed is that I saw is really going to get ripped up anyway. So I didn't know that.
Well, actually,
We'll put
Dina's
that
house is
milkweed
not
in
that
our
far.
garden.
Yeah.
Dina's house is not that far. I don't know how many feet away her
Yeah,
house is.
she is. Yeah, she's really close to there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just learned something. I never knew that that was the distance needed. That's interesting.
I didn't know that either.
I'm just, that's something that I'd heard. I can't remember if it's true or where I heard it. So
I didn't know that either.
I will, June. I appreciate you coming tonight and filling us all in, and you know, your willingness to work with us. So we're very appreciative. Thank you. You're more than welcome to stay and hang out, but we're going to move on if that's okay. Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's actually a very positive resolution, because when, you know, we had first gotten that email from Jerry, it was like, they're using Roundup and this is what they're planting. And it just wasn't really a feel good sort of email to get. So I'm glad that things seem to be looking up on that.
Who knew who you would meet when you were walking the garden tour?
I'm sorry, you never know who you're going to meet. Exactly.
You never know who you're going to meet, because we bumped into June and we didn't know her.
That was a good first house.
Yeah.
So I just want to move on to talking about the update on Grid Rewards Community Solar. You know, I think everyone knows that we've met our thresholds, as has the town of Mamaroneck and the village of Larchmont. Interestingly, so I don't know if everyone knows that we did meet our targets on community solar just recently. And I just want to mention this because this is just the power, I think, of word of mouth, where, you know, we did a lot of social media, and, you know, we had a lot of press releases that were going out to the local media outlets. But when you look at sort of who signed up, it was really bunches. Like, you know, Debbie, in your neighborhood, there were 3. There were 2 in Palmer, 2 on Fenimore, 5 on Hommocks Road. So it was just interesting to me how they were like in these little groupings. So I just wanted to, you know, just to keep in mind for sort of our next initiative, where I just think it's so much about word of mouth and, you know, who you know, telling, you know, friends and neighbors. Just following on Lisa's presentation, her talking about the mandatory actions and her being very supportive of what we could and should take on, which is our intention, is to form the CSC task force. So David Freeman and I are going to present at the BOT meeting on June 28th to hopefully get a resolution passed so that we could form that task force and check the box for that mandatory action, and then actually have an official task force to move these initiatives forward. David,
Just an added point, Ellen. One of the requirements of the task force is that it have as a member a village official or employee. And Kelly, this is for you in part. It's really important for us to have some support within the village government and have somebody who is tasked to help us accomplish these goals, because as you can tell from Lisa's presentation, it's not, this is not something you can do at home very easily. It's complicated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of paperwork involved. And so we need someone to give us support in the village so that the work that we're doing, you know, gets actually put down on paper and processed and gets submitted to the agencies for their confirming that we've actually met these deadlines and goals.
I did see that. And I also saw, and I think this will get broad board support. I mean, I was thrilled to see this initiative in the backup with my materials over the weekend. I also saw that you're looking for some additional members, and I wanted to throw out for you guys to think about and discuss whether it would make sense for someone from the Flood Advisory Committee to join this effort, and just so there could be a little bit of crossover work on that.
Absolutely. I think it makes sense to have people from, I was thinking some water, I don't know that the water quality committee is really.
It hasn't been It hasn't
But
been
certainly
reconstituted.
someone from the flood committee and possibly even the tree committee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anyone
Yeah,
in
they-
mind?
I think it's important that we don't have silos, because this is I
Yeah.
mean, the idea is this is a cross-cutting kind of activity. And the more, we can't have the committee too broad, we don't have too many people, but we should have representatives from people that are doing other things in the village, and particularly people with expertise in the right areas.
Yep. I know that David Finch was interested in this. He has moved from you guys onto the flood advisory committee, so you might want to think about him, and I'm sure you would get interest on the tree committee as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
David, the most important thing is to get somebody from the village staff to be on the committee. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I wouldn't say that's the most important, but that's really, it's actually required
A key requirement.
as a qualifying part of, you don't get qualification and you don't get the points unless you have somebody from the village that's actually on the task force.
What about a member of the board of trustees? Is that? Sorry, I'm not putting you on the spot, Kelly.
No, I don't know if that will count as someone from the village. I don't know. I'm sure this will be part of the work session discussions on the 28th. If Jerry has someone in mind who he can task with this, or whether it would make sense for Tom as your liaison to do it, or one of the other of us. I'm sure it'll be part of the discussion on the 28th.
I think, just speaking for myself, I think what we really need is someone who is sort of a workhorse, not necessarily somebody on the board, although it would be nice to have somebody from the board, at least as an ex officio member. But we need somebody like a Dan Sarnoff, or somebody on the operational level that can actually sit down and do the work.
And that's where we're going to have to really talk to Jerry and see who he has that has that kind of time.
Yeah, and I was actually suggesting someone on the board in addition to this person.
Yeah.
The staff member.
Yeah.
Just because I think it gives it a little bit more.
I agree with you. I agree completely.
Okay.
Great. And I have spoken to Tom about the need to have somebody in village management in the office who sort of, knows where the files are, the paperwork, that could really roll up their sleeves and get the information, because there's a lot of things that we don't have access to. So it would just make it easier for the just to have a dedicated employee that's part of their job. They're on the committee and they know it's, there's an accountability there.
Yep.
And some of these actions are there's quite a lot. I mean, doing your own benchmarking of an energy audit is not, that's not a sort of simple thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's one of the things sorry.
No, I was gonna say, that's why I entirely agree with you that you need a workhorse. We don't need a talking head. We need people that are really gonna do the work.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and Tim's been very helpful, is that there's some things that are really low hanging fruit and there's some things that are really tough. And part of the trick is to prioritize your activities so that you're getting the most bang for your buck in terms of your investment of time.
Yes, true.
All right. So certainly a lot more to come on that. So I just want to segue. I'm sorry, Tim, did you have anything?
No,
Oh,
I just
Gloria,
was
go
kind
ahead.
of going backwards, but the grid rewards, do we have numbers on those? I'm just curious on the
How many
numbers.
people signed up?
Do we know?
I think that we do know, and I think it was 27, but I can go back and check.
And what was like the
threshold is 10.
Oh, wow.
We thought we were going to get 50. Like, you're supposed to actually give an estimate when you originally fill out your application to do the program. So we said that we were going to get 50 signups. So we fell short of that, but it doesn't really matter because the requirement was 10 and we got 10.
Did anyone, speaking of grid rewards, get an action from them last week. I was waiting when it was, those hot few days to see if they're going to
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
tell me to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
well,
didn't get anything.
maybe it wasn't hot enough.
It wasn't hot enough. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay.
I forgot all about it. Anyway, I just want to segue to the food scrap recycling program because June marks the 3rd anniversary of the Village of Mamaroneck establishing our program, which is great. And since we've had it, we've diverted 125 tons of food from trash to compost. And we're really ahead of the curve. I mean, I just got put in touch with the woman who runs the environmental committee in Harrison, and they're just getting started. And I think maybe last month Pelham just got started. So I think that we should feel proud that we've really had this program for a while, and I've made a lot of headway on that. And Kelly, I was going to ask Tom, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if you know much about this, but I do know that the village just signed that intermunicipal agreement with the county, where the county is now paying for the transportation costs. So it used to cost $70 a ton to transport the food scraps from our DPW up to, I guess, to suburban carting, and then up to Ulster. Now I believe it's $10 a ton. So I think that it's really tremendous savings being in this agreement now, which I think was just signed.
This was on our work session last night, and I did read the backup to it just briefly. We did not reach it last night during our meeting. So.
Okay. But I think a lot of times, I mean, this wasn't a big deal, but, you definitely run into those, because, we always table at the farmer's market in the winter, and we try to do other events when it's not COVID. And every so often you'll get those residents say, oh, that's expensive. It's costing the village too much money. So I feel like now we could really say, no, it's actually cheaper. It's really a cost saving program at this point.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So David Styler, is he still on? Oh.
Yeah.
So I saw your email to Jerry. Thank you. That was a great email. And I guess there's nothing to report today, but I appreciate you following up about enforcement.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see if there are any warnings that were given out. That's all.
You're saying that in your area, you're noticing that it's quieter.
Yeah, all the lawn care companies in the immediate area. Actually, none of them has used a gas-powered blower. One of them used an electric blower, but none of them has used a gas-powered blower. And what they're doing is using grass catchers on the lawnmowers. So I think it's actually worked. I think now, fingers crossed, and you have to be consistent, but I think the speaking softly and carrying a stick kind of works. So I don't know what it's been like around where everyone else lives. Did anyone here notice? Anyone at the committee notice it's been quieter in the village? I've noticed it.
You go first, Kelly.
Oh, you know what? I'm not raising my hand.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm raising my hand.
If I put my hand down, the blood. It's just I'm keeping my hand pain free.
Okay.
Ignore the raised hand.
I'm manually raising my hand. You said there were no violations given?
I don't know. I just contacted Jerry today. It just hit me. I should have done this earlier, but he said that he'd talk to the chief and see what she's done. So I guess by next meeting, we'll find out whether there were any warnings given. I doubt that there were any summonses given, but warnings maybe.
So across the street from me, the landscapers always, I've tried talking to them. They're still using a leaf blower. And so I did call the police, and it was kind of a funny scenario because the policeman came down the street, saw one of the landscapers in front of the truck. So he pulled up in front of the truck. That guy gave the other guy a signal. He ran to the back, the other guy, and put the leaf blower in the truck. I was like, okay, this is like not working.
No, that's good. That'll probably deter them. Yeah.
I think it gave them, and I've tried telling them, and they don't listen, but I think that it's almost, they have to be a little, I've spoken on 2 occasions to the police now. The second time I called on them, it was actually the officer that happened to that answered the phone. And he goes, yeah, it was me that, responded to that call. I said, well, let me tell you what happened, because I was watching the whole thing. And as soon as they saw you and you drove up to talk to one, the other one, they gave each other a signal and they ran and put it away. So I think you have to kind of be a little, sneaky to go to them and kind of park behind the truck. Don't follow where they are. Just if you're behind the truck, they can't put it in there. And then I spoke to, because it's a condo complex, and I spoke to the board president and I asked them, I said, we've stopped ours to, using it. And she said she would speak to them. So they get paid by them. So hopefully that works. But it was quite a scenario, I tell you. They're very crafty, very crafty. So they got a warning, and hopefully the board president will speak to them, and I will keep an eye out.
Right.
So wait, but are they allowed to use the electric?
They're actually not.
No.
Right, that's what I thought. I heard you say that, yeah, because the board, because some people say, well, it's electric. Well, it still blows everything up,
Right.
so.
Right.
Well, I mean, it doesn't blow to the extent, though. It's really, it is better. It's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, definitely. So,
Much quieter too.
yeah, it makes a huge difference in our quality of life.
My
Huge.
condo board sent a letter to everybody saying they would be telling the landscapers not to use leaf blowers because it's now illegal.
Great.
Right, because they were using them the first day they come after the original, the start of the ban. And I did call the police, but by the time the police got here, they were done. But then the other day, they were doing the roof gutters and they were using the electric leaf blowers up there. But it was like 100 degrees that day, and these poor guys were up on the roofs blowing. I mean, I didn't interfere with that. I just thought.
Well, interestingly, when the guy came to do my gutters last week, he wasn't using a leaf blower. And I said to him, I thought you used to use a leaf blower. And he said, no, we never did. But I don't know whether they kind of heard.
They were using them some and not some. And
yeah,
it was literally, they were up there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock on that 90-degree day. So I thought if they're going to use leaf blowers, though, it's okay.
I would love if I could write down the phone numbers of the few landscapers that come on my block and someone could call them and tell them, because I can't call the police. There's only like 5 houses on my block and everyone knows I'm on the committee and I am not going to hate my neighbors. But I told the one neighbor who I'm friendly with to tell her crew to stop because they're going to get in trouble, and she'll listen. But I feel like it's a weird position. I can't call the police.
Yeah, I understand that.
Strange. But I do think that I wish there was someone that can mail a flyer to the landscapers that go to people's homes in Mamaroneck and Larchmont, because their names are plastered on the side of their trucks. And if we sent them something, maybe they would think enough that maybe I shouldn't use it at this house. I could get in trouble, someone sending this to me, because sometimes I don't think the homeowners are going to care.
You know what, Mandy? It's not going to be perfect, but I think that we should just stay on Jerry and the chief of police and just say, we'll see how many warnings they've given out and say, we really think you're doing a great job. But maybe we can give some warnings just to give some more enforcement, because the word will spread and nobody really wants this kind of bad, be hassled by the cops.
Yeah.
So let's just keep staying on them. And I think that'll, I think she's done a great job because she's gone along with it. And, let's just keep complimenting them and giving them positive reinforcement. And, look, this is the best summer. I've lived here since '94, which for some people is probably nothing, but this is really, since leaf blowers have started around here, this is the best summer so far that I've seen. So it's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also think what helps is Larchmont's law. Because a lot of the landscapers who work in Larchmont also work here, and so they're getting it there. It's the more towns that start passing, Scarsdale as well, the more towns that pass these kind of ordinances, and there's enforcement, they're gonna have to figure something else out.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that's great. And I think we should have followed Larchmont's lead in this, but I didn't see that there was enthusiasm for it from the village. So
Yeah,
not yet anyway,
not yet.
whatever the politics are.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree.
Yeah.
Mandy, I just want to turn it over to you. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your vision is for that pollinated pathway? Because I think what you were talking about is different than what June is talking about, right? You're talking about
Yeah,
the
I
beach.
mean, yeah, honestly, I didn't know June until I met her in that driveway on Sunday. And she was the one who mentioned to me, she kept saying, oh, what about the pier? And I said, oh, well, I don't know about the pier, but I do know that I saw a milkweed on the other side, and she made me show her the picture. She wanted to know where it was. And she told me that the possibility of doing something over there probably wouldn't happen because the county is still going to rip up that area when they're doing something on that pier, and it's going to take a while.
Oh.
So I just kind of took her at her word and said, oh, I didn't know, because I'm not sure who we even need permission from. Maybe that's why it really hasn't been anything. She seemed interested in making something there too. I would support our efforts, but I don't know the real answer on whatever's happening with the pier. Are they really going to come to the other side of the fence and do something there too? She thought so, but I don't know the answer. So I feel like it's something I would love to pursue, but I also felt like I don't know who knows the right information.
Okay, because I was thinking, I sent out an email shortly before a meeting tonight that the next step for Would Be Wards, we met the threshold, we submitted our documentation, and we are now eligible for a $5,000 grant. And to apply for that grant, you have to actually make a statement about what clean energy project you will do with those funds within a 3-month timeframe. You have to make a commitment. So I was just thinking, would that be something that we'd want to pursue? But we need to, whoever I sent the email to, you could look at it. We need to think about that and talk about that more. But we are in a bit of a tight time frame to claim that grant and to come up with an idea.
Yeah, I'm happy to help as long as we get like the real information on what's going to happen with that. I don't know. Apparently she seems to think it's connected to the pier project.
Well, she seems pretty in the know.
Yeah. So
My understanding of that pier is that it has to do with sewage outlet and piping. So if there's any renewal that needs to be done, the entire thing will have to be dug up. It would be substantial. But if there's a limited timeline, is there no other, like, not county, but village property we could section off, or, smaller versions of the same thing, rather than, a large area, which would have a lot of attraction, but has some conflict because it's not village property? Is there little segments of the park or here and there that we might be able to just put pocket gardens around Harbor Island? And then that could be a directive, for any of the grant money that's going to become available, or the rec department. Give us 5-6 little pockets of places where we could put pollinator gardens and signs.
there's also the I bumped into someone who was telling me that they at Central School have Central Elementary. I don't know if that's officially the village though.
It is.
Oh, they have, I met the girl who started the pollinator thing there, and they're trying to rally people. She just sent me an email. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I don't know if that's interesting.
Is that Mary Conway?
I think her name is Mary.
So actually it's funny because every year, the 5th grade class has a gift that they give back to the school. And that was my daughter's year where it was this like jungle at the side of Central. And it was really hard work that they just cleared it out, and she's trying to create, I didn't know it was a pollinated pathway, but create like
A woodland, I think, like
a woodland, yeah, woodlands. And we had, and there's a
A
plaque.
native woodland.
Yeah.
was the most
Remember that, Liam?
productive way
And we
to
have a
work.
plaque. Yeah,
Well, it needs help. That's what she was sending
it was
me.
hard work. Oh my God, I remember people trying to wheel that wheelbarrow up this hill. It was crazy.
Yeah, she sent me a very long email talking about bamboo and knotweed, and I guess I don't think her son is at the school anymore. And yeah, and I felt like she was trying to just reach out to someone to be like, hey, I would hate for this project to, it's falling apart basically. And
Oh, that's too bad.
I'm
I
not
don't
sure that's
think
village. Is that village?
It's not village. It's a town in Mamaroneck.
It's town, because that's a Larchmont address. even.
Yeah, it's not the village.
Okay. Forget that.
Ellen, do you think that the pollinator pathway and garden type stuff will fall in within an energy project? I mean, do we know what that money can be used for?
Yeah, so Dan, I actually reached out to our new CEC coordinator, this woman Eleanor Peck, who seems really amazing, but she's new. And I was asking her for guidance, like, communities of our size and character, what have they used the money for? Because it has to be approved. And so she gave me a few ideas, and that was on the list, with the caveat is that you can't just say you're going to do a pollinator pathway. You have to really sort of explain why that would reduce, emissions. Maybe you don't have to mow as much, and you don't have to, stuff like that. So I think it's not an obvious choice, which is what you're picking up on. It's not an obvious choice. It's something, and I don't know that we would need, to spend $5,000 on that, but maybe we could do that plus something else. But
no, that's fine. As long as it's on the list, then that's fine.
Yeah, I think with really good rationale that could pass.
What about the electric chargers? Is that something that's possible? And I kind of wanted to get an update if anyone knows, like, how many do we have now? And what's just, if anyone knows the latest update, and could we use it?
We have 2 in the village across from Village Hall in the that parking lot.
Yes.
I called Brandon after the guy who had given us the presentation, because at one point we met with Dan Sarnoff, and he said, oh, I'm waiting to hear from Brandon. And so I called Brandon, and he goes, I sent all that material to him. I'm waiting to hear from Dan. So I said, why don't you call him and just follow up? This was a couple of weeks ago. And then he said he'd get back to me, but I haven't heard. So I don't know if they haven't been able to connect, but there seemed to be a miscommunication as to who needed to call who. And so I'll call Brandon again tomorrow just to keep pushing him. And, because it seems to be a great deal of money and a nice project that, that's available, and it's silly to waste it and lose it.
Well, my impression, Dan, was that if we were to do the chargers through Brandon's company, which I'm forgetting the name of right now.
Blink,
that's right. Thank you. That there was no outlay necessary.
Correct. Right.
But certainly that 5,000 grand could easily be used for EVs. That's a very obvious sort of project, but I didn't think we needed any money for that.
No, I don't. I think Marie was just saying like what happened. And I think it's just lost in, so I'll stay on top of them both just to keep pushing it, because Dan seems to have a lot on his plate at the moment.
Well, I appreciate your persistence on that. I think that's really important.
So Alan, did you say that there was a time limit for us to sort of spend this $5,000?
So here's the thing. We have until August, I can't remember the exact date, Liam, to file the paperwork to apply for the grant.
Okay.
I started that today. But this gets back to David's point. Like, I'm not really qualified to be fully doing this on my own. Like Kelly, I've been literally doing the scoping documents, the applications, and it's a little bit of a winging it. Like, this is all new, and these are complicated processes. So what I learned today is when I was going through this application process, that if the grant is 5,000 and below, which this is, then you don't need to do a whole other host of activities, thank God. So it's like a good sort of first run. But you do need to say So I have to submit this application by, I think, mid-August. And it has to say what your clean energy project is going to be. And then I believe that clean energy project needs to then get launched 3 months from that moment that you submit it. That's my understanding.
Because we can't really, that would mean we'd be doing a pollinator pathway sometime in the fall. Is that actually practical?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, I don't know if it's just sort of getting things in motion.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a seasonal issue, I think, I don't know.
I thought the idea that you also suggested of hiring a staff person to help with getting all this paperwork done, I think that would be a really good way to spend that money, because we're really having trouble getting it done and following up. And that
I know, I was thinking about hiring, like, do we hire an intern and pay them just, maybe like, $10 an hour or something like that, and have somebody really be dedicated to this?
Right, and they could assist Dan Sarnoff with getting paperwork and looking at all the, whatever, all the.
Ellen, have you been connected up with Millennium Strategies at all? Or Millennium?
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
Have you been connected up with, I think it's Millennium Partners, Millennium Strategies? They're this company that the village contracts with to do grant proposals.
No?
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan hasn't, he mentioned that there are grant people, but he hasn't been, said in who they are. He's kind of he's the conduit between everybody. So
He is, and he's the person who works with them. I mean, at least once a week, I'm sure he's talking to them. I mean, they're constantly scouring for grants, grant opportunities for the village, and they're pretty successful at getting them. I mean, that's what they do. And they more than pay for themselves in the amount of grant money that they get for us. So I wonder if, they might be able to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for this particular one, I think that we're good. We just need to come up with what our project is.
Okay.
But certainly that's good to know going forward.
Yep.
What about the LED lighting?
Well, I think we've done that.
What, didn't we have the decorative ones though?
Do you know what I just learned recently is that those, across those townhouses across from Harbor Island that went up with those LED lights, we made the contractor, the developer put those in. They're not LED. They're incandescent. Can you believe? And at the Board of Trustees meeting where we said, why did we do that? Make them, what were we thinking? Like, what was that about? Oh, well, they were trying to match the look of the light fixtures elsewhere in the village. So those are not LED. And another huge place we need LED, and this has been an ongoing project, is at Lanza Field. Those lights cost us a fortune to run. And we can't use them as much as the teams would like to because they're not LED.
Well, is that something we could look at then?
Or what about traffic lights? What about our traffic lights?
They're LED.
They are?
I don't know.
I thought that's what Dan had said, no?
I think, I don't know if
maybe I
about traffic lights, or I know a number of the lights in the village are LED. They converted them recently, the street lights.
The street lights are.
They put in some fairly recently and they're not. It's just crazy.
Oh, no, he did say
my recollection from Dan is that he said that the street lights were LED, but that the decorative lights, it just didn't pay for itself, that it wasn't a good investment. He said that. I don't remember.
I think he said that about the traffic lights maybe as well.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, because some of them I think are, like the weird one over by, there's some of those weird lights that are over like by the post office and at the, or that Orienta intersection.
They're the special lights where there are two close together and you only see them from a certain angle.
Are those LED?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think, because I'm just thinking, I read your email, and I'm just thinking, we don't want to be in a situation where we apply to do something that they reject.
Right, exactly.
So, lighting.
You want to think safe.
Lighting is a far more sort of, what they're thinking of than pollinator pathways.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly, do you know roughly the cost of changing the lights in Lanza Field? Is that?
It's over $100,000.
Wow.
It's really expensive.
To change the lights? Wow.
To make them LED, yeah, because I think you have to replace the entire structure, the entire
You're not,
transformer. And
it's not just the bulb, it's the
No,
whole light fixture.
huge project.
Hmm.
Which one's Lanza Field in Harbor Island or?
Yeah, it's in Harbor Island, kind of towards the water. It's that big, it used to be softball and baseball, but now they're using it for soccer too.
Got it.
It's kind of by the beach area.
Between the bubble and the beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a question, the 5,000 has to be used on any project. So if the project costs more, as long as the 5,000 goes towards it, or it has to be something that is of that value? Let's say it's a $20,000 project. Is it okay that, okay, we're putting 5 towards it? I mean, how does?
I would think so. I would think so. And just so you know, we're probably gonna get another 5,000 when we get community solar approved, because I think I just submitted that paperwork a week or two ago. So we'll probably have another 5,000. So I don't think the project has to cost exactly $5,000. It's just what are you gonna do with these proceeds?
And it has to be finished in 3 months, so it can't be a big project.
I don't know if it has to be finished. I don't want to speak out of turn. I really was just doing this today, and I was just sort of trying to figure this all out. It seemed to me that you had to, I don't know if you have to get started in 3 months. It seems a little unreasonable to finish in 3 months. I don't know, but.
I mean, I think this speaks to what we were saying before, is we need professional help on this. There are people that do this for a living, and we're amateurs at it.
Yeah.
If we get people that know what they're doing, we won't make a mistake in all likelihood.
And also, our committee, we sort of know what we see. We don't really know what the village has looked at. Are these, sort of pet projects that this could be helpful. So that's where it gets back to really needing sort of a dedicated village employee. Dan Sonoff seems very busy. Maybe he has somebody,
He's so busy, we can't even get him to attend our flood committee meetings. I mean,
he's just pulled in a million different directions. I don't know if there's just somebody else that sort of has access to the information that we would need to, move this agenda forward. Anyway, guys, I think that unless there's anything else anyone wants to talk about, we could, we can make a motion to end the meeting and then go.
Ellen,
into
I have
executive
one
session.
quick thing. So
sure.
I was at North Shore Farms and I asked the manager about setting up a table. He said it's probably the landlord that we have to go to, because it's all shared parking, like they share the back and the with the dumpster and all that with CVS. So he said he thinks it's not their management, but it would be the management of the whole shopping center. So I'm not sure how to
contact.
He didn't. I could go back in and try to get that, but I did ask one day when I was in
Oh,
there.
well, I appreciate you doing that. I know it's been on our agenda and we just haven't moved that forward. So I
All
appreciate
right,
you doing
I'll
that.
see what I can do. See if I can get a name.
Thank you.
My only other thought was, if anyone hasn't signed the petition about the MTA thing, probably not a lot that can be done, but I feel really bad for my neighbors. It's 1 block over and they just wrecked their entire backyard view. They took down every tree. It was like a mini forest. They took down everything.
Mandy, I feel horrible about that. I was upset when they did along Hoyt and there's not even houses there. The fact that they're doing it in a residential area is horrible.
It starts at the Girl Scout house. The Girl Scout house was really upset. It starts over there all the way down Harmon. They stopped one street away from me because I'm on Hill Street and we're on a hill, and I don't think they have good access. They can't just roll big, machinery in. They would have to, I don't know, come through the fences, which I know that they've trimmed on my dead end, but I don't know. Maybe they'll still do my street. They have plans to go all the way down. So, but it's really sad what they did. I don't know. No one gets to hold them accountable. It's so terrible. All that wildlife.
Horrible.
It's awful.
They just clear cut it. They didn't.
They just clear cut, exactly. They didn't trim. They didn't make any attempt.
It was unbelievable.
At aesthetics.
Yeah, and then I don't know, the guys that live there, they dumped all of this gravel and they're like, it could be toxic. It's like oily. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm just trying to support them, but I feel bad. I'm sure they'll be coming for the rest of the town. all the way.
Why are they doing it now, though? Is it to do with this expansion of the train?
I don't know. There's some meeting going on about the expansion, but I don't know. Somebody told one of the homeowners they're doing it because they can. Because they found out it's cheaper just to cut it all down. But they didn't do the other side over near Sarah Newman, like the nursing home and stuff like that. But one of the MTA people told one of the homeowners it's because they don't have access over there. So they're just doing it wherever they have access. That's it. I don't know. Not much to say, but drive by. Anyone want to go down and look at
I did today. It's horrible.
It's terrible.
I wanted to say that this reminds me of we have this giant oak tree in our backyard, and it shades our house, saving us money in the summers. But it also, wait, what am I saying? But we could potentially put solar panel there if that tree was gone. So we're very interested in that, but they always say you have to cut down that tree, which is very unfortunate. But by doing so, you'd be taking away so many, it's such a habitat loss. So lots of pros and cons by just taking down one big tree.
Yeah.
Nancy, I had the same issue, and the answer is community solar.
Exactly. Aggregated solar.
Mackenzie, do your parents know about community solar?
I don't think so, actually.
Check it out. Go on the Sustainable Westchester website and read up about it.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
Much
the
easier than your own panels?
Do you know what they've organized, the next step? I know that, the TV was there, politicians were there.
I don't really know the two homeowners that organized it. I mean, they're doing the online petition now. They're very, they're very into it, but I don't know how far it'll go. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like I said, there's no one holding them accountable. It's crazy that they could just do whatever.
Well, you had Steve Otis there, who's our assemblyman, and you had George Latimer there.
Oh.
So they have staff people that can call and get, I mean, I would assume both of them made strong statements, particularly Steve. So it would seem to me that the next step would be to see what Steve has been able to find out.
Yeah, the two homeowners, they're the ones in touch. They started a little Facebook group, and like I said, I'll do whatever they can, and I'll write whoever they want me to write, but I don't know enough. I just know I feel bad.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so Kelly, I don't know if you're aware, we're gonna do, it's the first time doing this, an executive session where we'll just go off camera. We've been conducting a logo contest.
Okay.
Sort of want to talk amongst ourselves. You're welcome to stay, but we just want to talk about
okay,
for finalists and what we should do.
To go into executive session, you need to cite a certain, the statute on the open meetings law that would allow you to go into executive session. So do you know under what section of the open meetings law you are doing this?
I can't say I do. Should I quickly Google it?
Section 4.
Have you have you done it? Have you done it before? And
No, we've never done it before.
What is the basis for going into executive session? I'll try to figure this out for you.
To decide on the winner of the logo contest.
Well, actually,
well, not
Maria,
entirely.
No, it's not to decide on the winner. It's to decide how we should proceed. We had a process, a contest, and we've gotten submissions, and we've now passed the deadline. And now it's to decide if we want to accept what we got and select winners, or if we want to continue either the contest or some other way to get a logo.
I am not able to pigeonhole where this would fall under the open meetings law for you to go into executive session. For example, I can give you examples of the ways that we do go into executive session. It's to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. I'm reading from some papers last night. Is to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Like, these are the types of exceptions under the open meetings law in which you can meet in secret as a publicly convened
Well,
group.
can I just, instead of maybe doing an executive session, if that's not going to work out, I think that we could have a discussion. The thing that we wanted to avoid in an open meeting like this, where people, is to actually discuss the actual entries. That's not something I want to discuss in public, because we don't want to say, oh, that one's really crappy or something like that.
Right.
So what I wanted to do was just explain the process here and what our options are. And I think we can do that. I can explain that to everybody, and then we can decide how we want to proceed. Can we do that?
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, of course.
Is that good with you, Ellen?
Go ahead. Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Okay, so we ran this contest. Mandy, it was mostly Mandy and I and Ellen, and we got only 18 entries. Ellen, Mandy, and I then went through them and we selected the 4 best, which you've all received copies of, I assume, right? Everybody on the committee's gotten copies of these 4. So we discussed them at length, and we liked some of them, we didn't like some of them, we liked aspects, we were really going by criteria of, how good is the design, how professional is it, how appealing is it, does it give the message of our committee, was an important point. So, all of them had their positive and negative attributes. So then we discussed whether or not, and it's in the rules of the contest, that we could decide not to accept any of the entries as a winner, and we could therefore expand the contest. And there are a couple of ways that we could do that. We could either look for, because the entries were limited to the high schools and to Village of Mamaroneck residents. So we could either expand it to a wider geographic area, we could target design schools, or the other thing is we had an anonymous donor via someone David knows, David Friedman, gave $250 for us to give as prize money. So there's $200 for the winner, and there's $25 a piece for the runners up, for the 2 honorable mentions. So we could, there's also the library recently ran a logo contest, and they got a logo that they're very happy with through a process, through a website called Logo Tournament. And they were able, for $275, to get a lot of submissions. They got like 100 submissions. And then they worked with, and these are like professional graphic designers who are submitting. So we don't quite have enough money to do that, because we definitely would be picking at least the honorable mentions. So I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm not saying what we should do. It's up to the committee to decide whether or not we like the 4 that we have and we can decide on them, or whether we want to continue with the contest. So that's basically, and Tim was devised a way that we can vote, which I don't know if you want to speak to that, but we can send that out to everybody. It's pretty self-explanatory, a way to vote. And one of the choices is other. So you can rank your choices for the 4 logos that you were sent. And the other choice is other. And that means you're not really willing to pick a winner. Is that clear?
Yep, that was great, Debbie.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting, Debbie, that we have a vote offline using Tim's mechanism? I mean, maybe that's I think we all understand the options, and then it's just a question of
right. It's just
voting and seeing if we have a consensus.
Right. So I think that we don't really need to do the executive session. If
And I'm
everybody
sorry,
has-
I've pulled up the statute while you were talking, and I'm like trying to find any way by which you can do this. And I'm looking at every exception to the open meetings law, and I'm just not seeing a way we can get in there.
That's
No, well,
That's fine.
that's
I
fine.
think we just did it.
We just
No,
did.
I don't think it's not, it's just that I didn't want to be discussing the individual entries,
Yeah.
but we can vote, that's fine.
So-
So I think that's fine.
Tim, is your voting choice a form of ranked choice voting?
It is.
It is, yeah, here, let me share my screen quickly and I'll.
We all
I'll
need
show
to
you.
correct.
Don't show the, please
Don't
don't
show
show
the
them.
screen.
Don't show
Wow.
them. Don't.
What, I can't show them?
You
We've
can
all
show-
seen them.
We're
No,
not,
you-
we're
Yeah,
not
we've seen
criticizing
them,
them.
but other people who've made submissions don't know, nobody knows that.
It's an
we
open
selected
meeting.
4.
All right, so why don't we
These are
just
being
send
filmed.
why don't we vote
Okay,
on it?
yeah, okay.
I just want to add, though, that the one thing that gets lost with the vote, because it's just sort of you're just putting your vote in, is that I think we would have an opportunity, like, let's say you liked one of them and thought that it was mostly there, maybe it was 80% of the way, we could go back and talk to the person that submitted it and said, we
Right.
think this is great, but maybe we could just change this aspect of it. So I think that when you're voting, keep in mind, if you think it sort of mostly is what we should have as a logo. And keep in mind also what this logo is going to be used for. I mean, this is going to be sort of the branding of our committee. So when we have, pollinated pathways, we'll probably have like a little sign with our logo. When we're doing all the, the stuff for grants, this is what gets put on a letterhead. Like, this is going to be, anytime our committee name is out there, this will be the logo that goes with it. So some of the submissions were really pretty artwork. I would love to have them on my wall. It's just that they didn't really necessarily read logo. If you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
like some of it, even in the 4 finalists, I mean, one of them doesn't even say Committee of the Environment, for example. So we need to have that on there. So we'd have to work,
Right.
with the designer to add that, for example, if that was the winner.
Hey, Tim, is there a comment section under each one that we could address what Ellen's saying, like, hey, I like it, but if we could make this change?
I can add comment section pretty very easily. So without showing it, I'll do my best to describe the way it works. It is kind of like a ranked choice system. The first question is, there's basically 3 questions: first place, second place, third place. And then in each question, you pick which of the designs you think deserves that place, first, second, or third. So that you answer 3 questions, picking your image for those 3 places. And then I can add a comments line underneath each so that we could
But also
let people put a comment in as well. And then, like Debbie said, there's also other, if you don't feel that there's one that deserves first place or second place or third place, you can hit other on each of those. And that would indicate that you, like Debbie said, you want to extend the contest or you're not in support of any of the designs.
But there's a space there where we can say how it should, if we thought it should be tweaked, how it should be tweaked. Like, there's, okay.
Yeah.
What is Larchmont? What is their logo? Is it just the?
I think they have the.
It's that house, it's the gazebo.
Right, and with the recycle signal.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
And then they have some taglines like, I think reduce
Yeah.
pollution. They have like a few.
Addressing climate change, reducing pollution and
Yeah.
waste, supporting local spaces and ecosystems.
That's
Right.
it.
I mean, I will say that, I feel like there's no reason not to at least give honorable mentions, right? Like we have,
Right. I mean,
we should at least do that. I think the choice here is, have we found our logo? We certainly have, 2 runners up. We just have to make a decision. Did we find our logo? So why don't after, when we end our meeting, Tim, you could just send that to the committee members and
And then Tim, do they go back to you? Where do the answers go? Where do they get sent?
Yeah, so it's a Google, I built it using Google Forms. So it goes into a Google spreadsheet that I have that I can share also with everybody on the group too. So
it seems very complicated to me, so I hope you can figure it out.
Debbie, it's like what I did for the contest.
Okay.
You know, I ended up exporting everything into an Excel sheet and you guys saw it, all the stuff. That's what he'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I can send it as an Excel, or I can share everybody on the Google Doc. And if you have a Gmail account, you can see it.
What's the deadline for this? Voting.
Passed.
I don't know. Do people need a lot of time? Can we do it by Friday? I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
as long as,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I could do it today. So,
If everyone
It doesn't take very long to look at these and make a decision.
Yeah. Is anyone missing here? No.
I
don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, how soon can everybody do it?
Night?
Why don't we say by Friday?
Is that enough time?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, do we need to be in a meeting to agree on the winner, or could we do that elsewhere?
It doesn't sound like you're going to be speaking with each other. It's just a matter of tallying the votes. So that could be done by an email or something, right?
Yeah.
It can just be, on an email chain.
Mhm. Oh, so we can't all meet as a group outside of, well, we can't all of us. We can meet in subgroups, but we can't meet in. Okay.
Yep. You can meet in groups of less than a quorum. But once you are meeting as a quorum, as a group to do official business, I mean, if you were out for dinner together, it doesn't, doesn't matter. But if you were meeting as a committee for the environment in a group the size of the quorum or larger, then you have to comply with the open meetings law. There has to be advance notice. It has to be posted.
Oh, wow.
So rather than worry about this now, why don't we have Tim send around the survey, we get the survey, we look at the survey, and then we decide what we're going to do, and then decide if we have to do some kind of meeting to comply with the open meetings law in order to accomplish it.
Okay.
And I think maybe by email, maybe we'll come to,
Yeah, well, once Tim gets all the things and tabulates them, then we can figure out where we are.
Great.
And so I will send that out to the CFTE at VOM email, and everybody should receive it that way, correct?
No, because then it's going to go to people it's just the 11 people on the committee. And I think Tom would then get it. And I don't know who else is on that email.
Oh, that's true. Other people get copies.
Right, I sent it out. If you use the list that I sent, the original photos, thing out.
Got it. I'll reply to that thread.
Yeah, I wrote everybody individually, so.
Okay, I'll use that thread. And if anybody has any questions about how to use it or wants me to go through it with them, I'm happy to do that too.
Great.
Thanks.
All right, guys, it's 9:07, so
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to end our meeting. It was
I
nice to have
second.
fun. Kelly, thank you for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure seeing you all. You guys are doing amazing work. This is a wonderful committee. It's
Thank
really
you.
been a pleasure. And again, my apologies for the late start. I had it at 7:30.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Okay.
We figured.
Thank you.
You-
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
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 Thank you. Thanks.